rescue one. Shit's hit the fan and we're overrun. Sending boys in the trucks with the 50 cals. Tell every swinging dick bring extra rounds. Hang in now, boys, we're on our way. Don't send them out of heaven before we get a taste. Whoa, cry havoc, let's slip the doors of room. What you gonna do?
What's happening, folks? Welcome to another edition of the Double S Podcast. It's me, Gene, coming to you Sunday night here. Hope you guys have had a great weekend. That heat wave, my goodness, y'all, been coming across the Midwest of America here. Hotter than all kinds of expletives that you want to throw in there. It's been warm. Past couple days, we've been out in it, just doing the missions work out there and having an amazing time at it. So we survived. I hope you did too. Air conditioning is our friend. Hey, man, before we get going too much further, let's pay the bills here real quick. Let's go down through this here. Every one of the Double S podcast shows brought to you by the Romans Warrior Foundation. Hashtag helping is healing. Go check out the website. Check out all the awesome different divisions we have out there bringing alternative methods of healing across the nation to active military, veterans, first responders, and their families. Our brothers and sisters across the U.S., we've got some awesome work that we get done out there. Of course, one of the major ones that we have is the only mobile monument in the United States dedicated to the entire global war on terror's time in existence. That's 1983 forward, started with the bombing of the Beirut, Lebanon Marine barracks there and moved forward to the debacle withdrawal. Get a hold of the Romans Warrior Foundation if you want to get this mobile monument into your area. If you've got town festivities going on, you got a big event that's taking place, and you want to take that event to the next level, get the wall in here, man. It's a moving deal. Of course, our Stop 22 tour. This is music by artists for artists. The Label 22 piece that comes with it, and then of course our little division, the Field Ops division, where we get people outdoors, reintroduce them to the outdoors, do it through kayak fishing, camping, that whole shebang there. Go check them out. Of course, the other and the mothership of the whole thing that makes all this possible is the Heroes Media Group. Check out Heroes Media Group at heroesmediagroup.com. I believe it's .com. Maybe it's .org. I'll have to double check that. Nevertheless, go check them out on Facebook and Instagram at Heroes Media Group. Also on YouTube, if you might be tuning in right there because we're broadcasting on that as well. But you will see all of the podcasts that are on the Heroes Media Group. Man, there is something for everyone out there for nearly pretty much every night of the week as well. And that is going to be the topic of tonight. We're going to introduce you to the crew of the People's Patriot Project. This is an awesome podcast that's on the Heroes Media Group, and we're going to introduce you to the founder and the cast and crew there. I think the co-founders. We'll find out. See, I'm a horrible journalist. In all my schooling, never once took a bit of journalism school, and it shows every time I'm here. Real quick, TPO update, man. I just want to get you guys up to speed. We're going to be having a pile of pictures to share with you on this thing. We've been ridiculously busy these past few days. It started with we tied in and are working with the Thornton Fire Department, their peer support group. They had 2 nights because, of course, the fire crews work their 48s, right? So it was 2 nights at a private lake for camping and fishing, and they did a little bass tournament here for the kids, all the families of the firefighters, and the adults. And they did it in 2 separate nights, and they invited us to show up there and kind of help with the fishing side of things. And I got to tell you, man, blessed, honored to be included in the company with this just phenomenal group of human beings. And this is going to sound weird, dude, but I'm 52. I got 2 adult kids, and I got to tell you, the kids that were there at this events, both nights, this is some of the most well-mannered, enjoyable kids that I have seen in a coon's age. I mean, you know, not for nothing, you just don't see that often. And every one of these kids, there were pleases and thank yous and just unbelievably just well-mannered and just fun kids to be around out there. It was really an amazing event. Kudos to the entire fire crew out there. Thornton Fire Department, we're working with them a lot more as we move forward. And next season, we're going to try to up the ante there. We'll be talking to a couple of our supporters in the fishing side of things here and see if we can't help ease up, take some of that budget away from the fire department needing to pay for it. Maybe we can help provide some of that fishing stuff for the kids and for the adults. So that was super cool. Past 2 nights we did that. Then today, because of this company right here, Outdoor Colorado, which is a nonprofit exactly how it should be run, Frank and Josh Villa, they run that. They are the founders of this. They invited us as a guest, a nonprofit guest, to be at their golf benefit that they were putting at Boomerang Links Golf Course in Greeley. We were at Hole 5 today. If you watch our socials, you saw some of that stuff we put up there. And, brother, I got to tell you, man, what an amazing, awesome freaking day we had with this as well. This was just volunteers, donations, the several first responders and some vets that we're going to be able to take out fishing. Lots of contacts. Gave out so many cards and flyers. Sold a pile of TPO hats out there. Stickers, of course, across the board. Just a phenomenal day. So Frank and Josh and to everybody behind the scenes that work in there at Outdoor Colorado, thank you guys so very much. We love you guys to death. Looking for ways we can involve them and return the favor, man. And this is how it gets done, folks. This is called collaborating. It's called working together, right? That's how we accomplish great things, right? There is none of this, Schwarzenegger was, and mind you, he's an actor, right? And I keep him there. He's not some great, philosophical human being of our time. But when he came over here, people said, you're self-made. You did this. You come over here with nothing in your back pocket. He shot that down right out the gates. And he said, had it not been for people close to me that helped me when I first got here, I'd have never amounted to anything. Dude, it's everywhere you look. It's when we work together is when great things happen. When people try to shoulder too much by themselves or try to, fancy themselves that, a lone wolf, this or that. It doesn't matter, male, female, whatever. We are better together. And just don't forget that when you ask for help, that's a sign of wisdom, man. That's not a sign of weakness, dude. And I don't care what it's on. I mean, you need help with your checkbook. You need help with the lawn. You need help with some, day-to-day stuff, whatever it is. You need help eating a sandwich, you die. All right, that's what I'm saying. Whatever you need help with, there's nothing wrong with that. And that's how working with these collaborating between nonprofits out there. They don't work in the same space as we do, but they do work with kids. Outdoor Colorado does, and they do guided hunting trips for kids and families, man. And they loved our mission. They love what we're doing, and so we tie in together with them. So good stuff. All right, look, we got everybody up to date here. Everything's all good to go here, and our guests are waiting in the green room here patiently. Speaking of working together, this is something that we wanted to do on the Double S here, start reaching out to all of our fellow podcasters on the Heroes Media Group. And right out the gates, the one that comes to the top also because of the fact that Mark chimed in when I had Adam Bird on here a couple episodes ago, and Mark was just freaking hilarious. So we absolutely had to reach out there because that's right up the double S pathway here of just speak your truth, man, and let's hear it. So we got Andrea that's going to try to keep us, I bet you, in line. She's going to be cracking the whip. Although maybe we're going to have to try to, we got to watch Andrea too by the looks of it. I can see the look on her face right now. So nevertheless, let's go ahead and get him in here. We're going to welcome here. We got Mark and Andrea from the People's Patriot Project. How the heck are you folks doing?
Oh, you see, that's him.
No.
Patriot Project. With Andrew Eichmann.
Yeah, welcome to my world. Welcome to my world.
Who gave him a soundboard?
Yeah, you know how many times I've tried to take that thing away? Yeah. Well, it didn't work for our show earlier tonight, so there you go. I'm so glad.
Broken.
Here comes the, y'all don't really want it like that. Yeah, here comes the, no, here comes the, oh, here comes the, y'all don't really want it like that. Let's grow.
This face I was making, Gene, this
Yeah.
is why. I can't keep any control over what this guy does.
Well, that's exactly what the Double S is all about. You know, I mean, we called it the Double S. The bottom, it's affection known. It is the shit show. We know things are going to go off the rails here on this show. We wanted that. I named it the Double S because if I'm out in the public at these chamber events, and someone says, "Well, what's your podcast name?" I don't want to be like, sitting there going, "Well, it's the shit show." So, we gave it a little code name there, but everybody knows what it is at the end of the day.
Awesome. That is awesome.
Well, that's funny because our show is live every Sunday at 1800 Central Standard Time, and every once in a while, granted, we bring 2 guests on every weekend. Every once in a while, stuff happens, and our guests don't show up for whatever reason. And we got the Shoot the Poo episodes. That is kind of the equivalent, because then we just kind of babble about what the People's Patriot Project's getting done. And so that's the other piece. So
Yeah.
Andrea might be having a hard time because we reserve the top row in our show for the pretty people. So she's
No. I like it down here. This is quiet down here.
Right? We got her center screen, man. That's going to grab the attention there for sure. Absolutely. Well, that's awesome, man. So, I feel your pain on that, by the way. I've had, thankfully, when I had the Doc Talk, I only had 1 or 2 guests that flaked on me. And it was always kind of funny because, we ran this show for 4.5 years, right? Never missed an episode. One time I was 15 minutes late because I lost power at my house. In 4.5 years, we went off as scheduled every time. We stayed true to it. And it was kind of funny when the 2 guests that did flake on me, they were last minute, and it was just so nonchalant with them, like, "Oh yeah, sorry, yeah, I can't make it. I got to count my hair," or what, just the most disrespectful professionally that I'm just like, I will never, ever have you on my show ever again.
Yep.
Sorry, I got a really good memory and I'm old and spiteful like that.
I have to do a lot of self-talk in a lot of areas, and have the conversation with myself is, no one is ever going to be as passionate about our mission as me.
100%.
And so, and then the workload, I also, have to self-talk myself through this as well. I'm like, so not everyone is going to do as much as me because of that passion.
Yeah.
And again, we do have an amazing team. They do work hard. Andrea is the glue that holds it all together. And so it is, but there are times where sometimes a show sheet's not done the way that my anal perception would like it to be, and I put it out there, and it's just like it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We'll get through it.
And that's the thing we do. We always tend to run through this stuff when we, there's rarely issues we can't get by when it comes to this stuff. And thankfully, that's always the thing Brian and I talk about, when we're on here. You can't cancel somebody that's not popular, and I'm not popular, so suck it. I can say what I want to say.
We just got done doing episode 258, and we've
That's
never
awesome.
missed a Sunday.
That's
and
awesome.
We tried to miss a Sunday. We did an event here in Minnesota to help. Well, it was supposed to be our annual event, but then in the meantime, we were bringing in some musicians from across the country in. And there was a first responder whose house had burnt down. There were some insurance issues and stuff like that. So we came in and we said, okay, we will also do a benefit concert with our musicians the night before. So now we're doing a 2-day event, which a 1-day event will take the gas out of you.
Yep.
If it's your event. A 2-day event, well, we got up, so we did an Airbnb for all of our musicians. Some of them were for Texas. Some of them were, one was from Utah. One was from Louisiana, and 3 were from Texas. And we got up the second day, and I looked at Andrea and I said, I'm done. We can't do the show today. We called both of our guests and we said, sorry, we'll reschedule, but the show's not going to happen today. It can't happen. So I had a guest in my house from another organization from Puerto Rico, and he was staying with me for the weekend, and we did some of our running around that day. And I come home and I literally hit the couch and I crashed. Well, the next thing I know, someone's pulling my big toe and they're like, you're live right now. And I'm like, what? What? No, we canceled. Well, our viewers started getting hold of Andrea and said, where are you guys? You're not on tonight. And I'm like, and so they launched it, and well, I can't not go on then. Okay, we'll do this thing. And so no matter what, we have committed. We will be here every Sunday at 6 o'clock, 1800 Central Standard Time. And we've done it every single, and it's a marriage we didn't expect. We didn't want to do a podcast, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
We're both school teachers. And we build content in the classroom. I had no desire to do a podcast, and we can get into that here down later. But
yeah, that's awesome stuff. Andrea, it's not always easy being the producer behind the scenes like that, right? Where you gotta make sure that the talent knows it's got to go on.
Right. I'm just really a support person here. It's kind of funny. There's so much work that goes into building it. And then we get here and I'm like, I have to take notes and I have to make sure this is here and that's there. And Peterson's always like, I need you to take a more active role. I'm like, I'm pretty active. I'm just not the voice. Pretty active back here, just not, I'm not playing solitaire in the corner. So it's, it is, I do like to talk and interact with our guests. But there is just so much that goes into this that we just kind of. Yeah. Tonight, I had 3 people ask me if they could be on the show at some point in the future while we're on the show, and I'm like, I can't. Yeah, I don't want to lose you, but I mean, we're booked up through September. What are you doing in October? I don't know what I'm doing in October, but right. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool, but it's also like, should I answer it right now, or they'll, might go elsewhere, whatever. Yeah. And so. And then there's the occasional call because people hear the message and just need to chat. And sometimes one of the 3 or 4 of us have to take a phone call as well. And so I'm always ready to jump in if that's the case too. But we have this script that we follow or not.
Right.
Yeah.
So on that topic, what is the People's Patriot Project? When was it started, and what is the podcast? What was it birthed from? I'll let either one of you grab that.
Good.
Do you want
you got this.
You want the beginnings or the podcast?
Yeah, just where it came from. Yeah.
Just the beginnings. Oh my gosh. Well, Peterson here is where it came from. Peterson and his baby. I came across this in 2018-ish, I suppose. We met at we had common friends in teaching, and I was new to this teaching stuff. It's union work, and I was pretty new to it. And one day, I think we were sitting at lunch, and he was like, "Hey, what do you do here? And I was like, "I don't know. I hang out with my kids and my parents. I don't know, whatever." But I kind of started sharing it, and there was a lot to it. I had a lot of questions, and I didn't serve, and I wasn't a fireman. I wasn't a police person. So I had a ton of questions about where's it going? What do you do? What's the ultimate? What do you need? Like, what are you thinking about? And what he shared was that, and I'm going to do the short version, Peterson, but he served Army and then National Guard and then a firefighter. And as all through that, at some point became a teacher too. I don't know all those details, but, and his heart was always with firefighters, because they needed to buy their own gear and equipment, and everybody out of the cities is volunteer, but buy their own gear, and he wanted to support that. That's where the birth part began. And then the growth came into, the trauma and the PTSD and all of the rest of it that goes with being a community servant, and then the country servants as well. And so it grew into that. So by the time he got it to me, we were looking at supporting first responders and service members, active duty or veteran. And pretty much we had like this whole little this, and this, we can help with that. Which we do. We now say there's not an ask we won't help with. If it doesn't fall in our wheelhouse, we've met so many people and had so many organizations on our show that we can figure out the help. That part's the easy part. The big dream is eventually to have our own facility or facilities where I feel funny sometimes saying this. A lot of organizations have the same dream. And we kind of wanted to do ours resort style, but make it a one-stop shop. You need a haircut and a beard trim. That's great. A massage is here, great too. But we also have licensed staff in the areas of physical, emotional, mental health support. We've got mentors. What do you want to do? Chop wood, mow the lawn, go swimming, go fishing. Like, what is it that you want to do? Maybe hiking through the woods in the winter. See how that one didn't come to me right away, but not my fun. But whatever it is, and then what we've found through all the people that we've helped through some rough spots is that we can listen well. And so throughout all of this, they need to help themselves figure out what is it they need next. Where do you need to go? Who do you need to see? What assets, what support do you need? And then how can we get you there? And so throughout that, we did some mini staycations, we called them, where we would take either the individual, the spouse, or the whole family. One of the most amazing ones we did was a Christmas getaway. And Duluth has this amazing Christmas village. Duluth is way up on Lake Superior. And it's a Christmas village with all the lights in the world. And it was, of course, that COVID time. So we actually had to put them in a hotel in Wisconsin that actually had a pool that was open for the kids. And it was a drive-through event. But the extreme, it went from tears to I can't wipe a smile off my face. And it was amazing.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so that was one of our I can't say biggest ones, but definitely the most kind of touching. They're all touching. But it's turned out to be one of those things that, gosh, you get all done and you sit down and you feel so good. And then you're like, gosh, it makes me guilty because we didn't do that much. We just were here and did what we needed to do. And so that was kind of the birth. That's the birth. And then we got into this podcast live show stuff that we're doing. And
I was going to say, so with doing all that work, Mark, you guys, we're staying, busier than a one-armed paper hanger out there. What was like, hey, I know that I have like extra time on my hands that I don't have, so let's do a podcast. Where'd that come from in that process? Was it just to get the mission out there, or what was the?
That's a good segue into it, because what had happened was that silly little virus that was in the air in 2020, and Andrea and I are both school teachers, so. What were we doing? We were Zooming with our students. And I'm like, I looked at our crew, and it was completely different back then. And we had not dabbled, but we had started joining other people's podcasts to tell people about our mission. We had met with two podcasts down in Houston, Texas, the summer of 2019. And so now the nuance of this is Adam Bird, the founder of Heroes Media Group, was a board member with the People's Patriot Project from the very beginning. He knew about it before Andrea did back in the day. And so we were sitting there, and I'm like, well, we're Zooming anyway. Why don't we do on a Friday night, because the news is saying everyone's depressed, we're all dying, life will never be the same, and I'm not buying this garbage. Why don't we get on there, and worst case scenario, we can feel the support for the veterans that are struggling. And so we did a thing where we'd do what's in your cup, and we did this for a couple of months, and then I'm like, we kept bringing in different nuances. So one of the pieces that when people were reaching out to us for support, they were like, "Oh my gosh, you answered the phone." And I'm like, "Yeah, who's not?" And so we went back to our bylaws and even wrote into it, we're going to cut the fluff, because there are, and back then it was about 46,000 organizations in the country. Now it's 58,000 organizations saying they're helping veterans and first responders. 58,000, and we are having up to 76 veteran suicides a day. We've completely muddied the waters, and our veterans and our first responders don't know specifically where to reach to get the help and the support that they need at that moment. And they're in crisis at the time of calling. Because let's be honest, these are the toughest of the toughest. And they didn't think, oh, I'm going to have a problem in a couple months. They literally have dug themselves into a hole, and they need help and support right now. And we've got organizations that aren't picking up the phone, returning emails. They're not engaging. Yeah. And I'm like, hogwash. This is garbage. And so it was time. It was time for us to kind of dig deeper. It allowed us content. I'd never wanted to build content because I do it as a teacher. But now we could bring boots on the ground organizations on to share their mission, hold them accountable. Now, we had no idea what we were doing. And I saw a musician one day. His name was Tony Turner. He was from Alabama, and he was playing Simple Man. He's a Navy vet. And he's playing Simple Man. First of all, that's kind of my anthem in life. And so I'm listening to Simple Man. I reached through the network, and that was a YouTuber at the time. And I'm like, hey, will you come on to the show and play some songs? And so I'm looking, and we're doing everything in Google Docs. We're a workspace company organization. And so I'm like, okay, so let's start bringing on. I had no idea. There are as many veteran and first responder musicians. Sal Gonzalez, who does your intro, had him on the show. Stephen Cochran had him on the show. He works with Brian Romans and his program, Label 22. We kept finding musician after musician after musician, and a lot of them are recording in Nashville. A lot of them are recording down in Austin. They're just everywhere. And we've got rappers, we've got opera, we've got cringe, killer, die stuff. And I mean, I'll be real honest, most of them are country. And that is just, so then now we've got, so my brain was, whether you like him or not, kind of a Jimmy Fallon type show, throw some funny memes and gifs and talk the dirty, the Patriot talk. Here's the nuance. Me and Andrew being school teachers, we can't get to the complete edgy stuff. Yep. We've got to stay kind of down the middle. Yep. So that we're not. And again, working for the union at the AFT and the NEA and for Education Minnesota. And as a school teacher, we're right down the middle. We got both sides of the aisle that we deal with and talk with and be part of. And it has allowed us the opportunity to have some very tough and real conversations. It doesn't have to be political around every corner, but we lean one way, and that is what it is. But it has expanded our minds to open up and have the one-on-one conversations, the real dialogue. That's a nuance to what we got. So the next thing I know, we're going buck. We went to Sunday night, 6:00. We only wanted to do Minnesota, of course, so it made sense we got your 6 at 6. But then the next thing I know, Chris Turner invites us down to Nashville for his event. And all of a sudden we are now nationally exposed. And we have organizations asking for us to, A, be on our show, and B, come to their events, because during that period, me and Andrea were traveling, I think for 3 years. The airlines kept messing up our flights so we could fly free everywhere we were going. And for 3 years, I think we probably had a minimum of 12 major flights and events every single year.
That's
and
awesome.
And it's the joke is pause, Marky Pause Peterson. It's because I'll get there and we'll put our paws on you. And it's just been able to be kind of that glue that builds these relationships. And
Love it.
yeah, it's been an amazing ride. We get to say we selfishly do this because it makes us feel good to begin with, and the other side of this is we're making a difference.
Man, and that's the beauty of this is, birds of a feather. The so much of what you guys just explained resonates with us here. And what I love is the small circles. Chris Turner, Stephen Cochran, Sal Gonzalez. Sal's the only one we haven't had on the show yet. We're trying to figure it out, but he's been busy doing that whole Opry, thing. So
you want me to call him?
Right?
I'll call him.
Right. We got his permission to use Shadow of Death for the, for the intro there. That was all. I've actually sat, crossed, had dinner at a couple events that we've had with Sal and of course Tyler J as well. And, being able to hang out with these guys and spend time with them. They're just awesome human beings. You get
that dude just played the Opry.
Yeah. Sal did. Yeah. It's for his second time.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, you hang out with enough of those Marines, man, it just starts to rub off on you. You got to be careful with that. I know, right?
So we just talked about the Marine. Peterson just opened up with that Marine stuff today.
That's right.
I was Army. We had to let everyone know last week was still the Army birthday because the Marines are still waking up with a hangover from their Marine birthday still.
I was going to say they'll have their 250 come the 10th of November this year. They get their 250 in as well. So yeah, November's going to be just batshit crazy month. I'm sure of it. And it's kind of super cool too, because for 10 years I worked for the Rochester Public Schools in the IT side of things. But I worked and supported, educators all day. And for 20 years, I've been a coach from fourth grade all the way through into high school athletics. And so as I took coaching to another level, that I took it to an educator level, because you're working with that many kids. You have to find, so many different ways to convey the same message to get across, what the information we're trying to do. So a respect for the educator platform, definitely was instilled in me there. And also I can say this, and I'll be respectful for sure of your careers there, but also I grew a very, very large GER in my head for administration. And so, when I'd hear them say, we know what it's like. No, you don't know what it's like. You don't even shop in the same grocery stores, dude. Okay, you're making $150 a year to sit up front of that office. These teachers are busting their butt nonstop. No. But anyway, I digress.
When did you leave Rochester?
So I left Rochester. I got there in actually 2011 is when I got there, and then I left in 2021. Right after. What'd
you coach?
So I coached Century High School football with John Vick.
What?
You and I definitely crossed paths.
Yeah,
because I coached football for the St. Francis Fighting Saints.
For who?
The St. Francis.
Okay. Yeah, Century High School.
Been up to Duluth a dozen times.
Yeah, I was in. My daughter actually went to UMD up there. She was a double major at UMD. She was a Bulldog.
Bulldog.
And she moved away for like a year and a half, and I can't believe it because this kid hates the cold, but she misses Duluth so bad. She loved that area up there. They're living up in where are they at? I guess it's one of the suburbs, northern Minneapolis up there. Up by Rogers, I think, areas where they're living right now.
Probably St. Francis, where I live.
Right, probably your neighbor. Yeah. No, small world, man. I love that. I love that. And like you said, it was the whole piece of wanting to get that's what started my initial podcast with the Doc Talk. Was we wanted to bring the worlds of supporting with the outdoors, with the fishing. We used the audience of fishing. The only reason we spun off from that is just because we weren't hitting the demographic we wanted to. And unfortunately, I know my fishing brothers and sisters out there are going to hate to hear me say this, but the fishing world's just too small, dude. It's not that big. It's big to us that are in the fishing world, and there's much to be said for withdrawing into content and areas that you're really comfortable with. But that doesn't align with the work I'm trying to do with the True Patriot Outfitters, man. You got to go bigger and you got to stretch out. And that is exactly why I got to chatting with Adam and Brian and said, gentlemen, I'm going to leave the TPO behind so I don't have to worry about sponsorship and worry about things that I want to say, because we want to shred back the worry about saying truth and honesty about things. And so Adam and Brian gave me the green light. They said, look, man, speak your piece, do what you got to do out there. And so that's what we try to do. Now, obviously we try to bring the positivity with it, which I notice you guys do the same thing out there, which I absolutely love. On a lot of the shows that I've watched, I love the things that you guys share, through and through. Are you a musician, Mark? Is that your connection to live? What got you guys? Andrea, are you a musician? No? But this
No.
guy,
Yes, but not really.
Jeremy's saying something about karaoke here. What is it?
Yeah, Jeremy.
Karaoke.
What you got, Jeremy?
He's going to talk about tacos next. So I am a musician, but not in this type of like world and space. There's a guitar sitting over there, and I can fat finger that thing all day long. It's not anything great, grand, or anything like that. I played several instruments in life, but nothing that you would ever want to see played out in the real world. I mean, these guys, you get the Scotty Hastings who couldn't even hold a guitar pick at one point and has adapted and is one of the, I would say, top tier musicians in the veteran world right now. I didn't put that kind of time into it. And again, my destination actually was the sport world. I played in all levels of football, nice. From high school to pro, and that was kind of the pieces that I did. And so I couldn't fit all the pieces in. So right. Plus being deciding to go into the teaching field again, kind of pulls the reins back on some pieces. Yep. And I've been in help with nonprofits, and it was a little bit different to begin with. I used to build programs for treatment programs for youth, at-risk youth, and so I did that for a gigantic chunk of time. And so it's after I ETS and got done, I needed to find something else. The fire world was where I was at, and then I just kind of I knew something else bigger and better. And it's funny that you say that. The fishing world is kind of, when we first started the People's Patriot Project, we said that we would not kind of specialize, so to speak.
Yeah.
And we had marketing people come in like, well, you're crazy. Why are you not? You got to. And I'm like, nope. I said, our concept is this tackle box, and we don't know what we're catching. And if we specialize, everyone does PTSD. Not everyone. A lot of people do PSTD or post-traumatic stress,
yep.
PTS. And I'm like, nope, we've got to be open. We've got to be a conduit. We got to accept and welcome everybody. And it's made it a challenge. I'm not going to lie.
Yep.
But we're open to everything. And so one of the things that punched me in the face right off the bat, and I suspected it in one way, but I wasn't expecting it in the way that we dealt with it right off the bat, but military sexual trauma. How many people are affected by that, and blown away about how many men deal with military sexual trauma and
Wow.
it's not necessarily and that was one of our first episodes in the first year.
Jeez.
And we had a veteran that was sleeping under his truck down in Texas again. He was sleeping under his truck. This is crazy. Sleeping under his truck at his house with his wife in the house with a live-in boyfriend, and he's homeless, and he's dealing with all this stuff.
Oh my
And
God.
he's ready to off himself. And I reached out, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, I honestly don't know how to deal and handle with some of your stuff. Here's my truth. Got to be careful what we say these days. I mean,
Yep. Yep.
especially in Minnesota.
Oh
There's
my
been some
gosh.
stuff go down recently, but it's just like
share a lot of that feeling here in Colorado. Trust me.
I appreciate you. I appreciate you.
Yeah, I feel your pain, dog.
Nuts.
And that's, I got to commend you guys for that, because I'll be honest, I've had early on when we first started getting the TPO going, the first year, there was a young man that I was speaking with, non-combat vet, served his 4 years and then got out. He was actually based out of Kansas City. Now, through another nonprofit, they referred him over to me because he was coming out here to go down to Mount Carmel mental health services here in the Springs, and he was staying down there, but there was some problem with housing. He was supposed to be here at a certain time. They were supposed to have a room for him. They didn't have a room, so he had been staying in a couple hotels, this and that. And he found himself in a position where he was going to be, for like 2 nights, he was going to be without a place to stay. But the facility said, we'll have your room open and available to you at this time. So this organization reached out to me because we're in Colorado and he was down there, and we happened to know each other. And so we connected with this young man, and I went down and actually got him, my wife and I, because the TPO hadn't raised any funds yet. We were just getting off the ground. And so my wife and I actually covered the cost of a hotel for this young man to cover him, set him up. Now, it wasn't as whiz-bang as the one that the other organization set him up in. I was like, sorry, dog, unfortunately on my budget, you're going to get a Super 8, but it's clean and it's a good room and it's not on the streets. So we got him set up there. Well, it wasn't too long after that. I want to say about a month later, I get a call from this young man about 10 o'clock at night, my time, and he's not in a good space at all. And he started saying some pretty dark things here. He had gone back to Kansas City, his wife with 5 kids out there. Things weren't going right there. She said, you left treatment. That wasn't the deal. You don't get to see the kids till you get back in treatment. And, this whole thing. And I got to be honest with you. I'm in way over my head. Okay. I have plenty of college degrees here, and none of them, all the way to my master's degree, none of them. I mean, I did take an abnormal psych class once, right? But I have a master's in business. I have a bachelor's in IT management. I tie fishing knots for a living. Okay, that's what I do. So for you guys to tackle this and take this on, I mean, it's in your DNA. Number one, as teachers, you serve. I mean, there's just no question about that. Your whole history, Mark, from what I'm seeing, is just a life built on service. So I commend you guys for that. But we finally did. I wrangled enough people and got enough resources to get this young man squared away, and it's good to see he's doing fine now. But that's a tough deal, but we want to be there. But I'm also really, really aware of the fact that, dude, I don't know if I'm your guy. If you're in that dark space, I don't know if I'm really the right fit for that. So I need to meet more people that are, so that I can refer off, right? That's kind of my objective. I don't want to turn away from it, but I also know that, rub some dirt on it is not good advice, right? And that's what I have. That's what's in my wheelhouse. I know my limits when it comes to this stuff. So kudos to you guys. And Andrea, how do you jump into that headspace to do that? I mean, yes, there's the teacher aspect it covers a lot of that, but still, that's still got to be some wild areas. How do you get into spaces like that and feel comfortable with it?
Phew, I don't know that I've thought about it. I do know that years and years ago, I had a friend that we went to look into like fostering children together, and we had just met, and after 2 or 3 meetings, and these people would always come to me, and the strange one in the room would always be the one that would find me and share things with me that I didn't want to know.
Right.
And Linda looked at me one day and she goes, God gave you these big old shoulders. Now he's going to send you the people that need you to use those shoulders. And I'm
like Mark.
Right. Send me that big old guy. But I was like, I had no idea. She was older and wiser than me, and I didn't know what she was talking about. So now sometimes when I do reflect on this, I think I just have to listen.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to lie, Gene, I am, there are things I'm in awe of. Like I like to think I'm a tough girl. Am I going to run into a burning building? I don't even know if I want to put all that gear on. You know what I mean? I thought I dallied with joining the Army when I was, coming out of high school. I didn't. I was going to go be a big hotshot lawyer. That didn't fit my plan. Weird how you have hindsight. But anyway, and I didn't. And then I turned like 35 and then 40. And I'm like, I am a tough girl. I should have done that. And now I look at people who did. And I really am, not everybody, because not everybody's worth being in awe of, but
right.
They did it. In that, look at my dad. I look at my uncles. I look at my cousins. And I'm like, wow, you guys did it. And I am that person that appreciates it.
Right.
I will never forget. I will never not appreciate what you've done for your community, for your country.
Yep.
I don't kick myself that I didn't do it anymore, but because now I'm here and I can, I have the ring bearer in my wedding. My cousin's oldest son has had some serious tough. He's Iowa National Guard. And he's had some serious deployments, some real tough stuff. And he came out. He just finished up this past year, and his last mission was a peacekeeping mission, and it was amazing. Wow. And thank God they gave him that in the end. But I would give anything to hear some of his stories, but he's not ready to share anything. He's not there. And so I will never push, but everyone I meet, I hope they know if you're there or when you're there, I'll be here to listen.
I love it.
Yeah. So that's kind of my spot.
And it's like you said in the very beginning is, Mark, you mentioned that both of you guys realized being listeners, how important that was, right? To not just hear, but to listen. There's a big difference there. And that's I think it's counterintuitive to the podcast, right? Because you've got to be able to do that and speak a lot, to direct things. I've been learning the crash course over the last 5 years in that whole maneuver. But nevertheless, learning how to listen and pick up on things and really, see what resonates with them when you do talk, what gathers a reaction, and what is that reaction? It's powerful stuff, man.
Go ahead.
I don't know what I was going to say. I mean, so my first degree was psychology, and
okay.
And so
cheater.
Yeah.
But so I'm a country boy from Cody, Wyoming.
Love it.
And as I'm getting my degree in psychology, Andrea Yates drowns her 5 kids in the bathtub. And these are like this is stuff I remember.
Oh, wow.
And at the same time, David Koresh, I don't know what's going on down there in Texas, but this was David Koresh has his compound down there in Waco. And I'm just like, I'm also going to a theological seminary school at the same time. So I'm like, I don't get the voices. God's not going to tell you to go drown your 5 kids. So I don't get the voices in your head stuff. And the concept of cowboy the F up probably is not going to be a great practice. It's not going to work. And so I am the kind of the gruff, edgy guy. I was in the artillery. I mean, again, I self-talk through stuff. When things don't feel right, I'm like, okay, one more meal and you're out of this, or one more sleep and you're out of this. It's military cold right now. One more sleep, we'll get through this. Or, so I'm able to do those pieces for myself. I would not be able to talk someone through drowning their 5 kids. I don't got that capability. And I'm also not language arts like Andrea, so I don't got is what you get from this Wyoming.
Hey man, I'm tracking the whole time. you say things way gooder than me, Mark. I'm going to tell you that right now.
Gooderist.
Way
gooderist.
Here we go, cringing.
Yeah, the English teacher.
There's something in my makeup, and I can't explain it. Me and Andrea have sat and tried and talked through it, where I don't know if it's through the training, because I was a hothead in high school. In fact, that may have been one of the main reasons that got me into the military, is because of my hotheadness. But at some point, I'd learned something, and I'm not sure what it was I learned, but to not run into the burning building. Now, am I the guy that's going to be the first one in there? Yes. But to take the time to walk and look and see and listen and know what the environment is, somewhere I learned that piece. And sometimes we can stop the stuff before we even get there if we can talk through it. If we can minimize the exposure. And we like to spiral. We like to go down rabbit holes that don't exist. And if we can talk through these pieces, and if we can get to the self-talk piece where you can talk yourself through that, one of my worst, here's my trauma, my piece. I never knew, when you're a firefighter, when you're in a burning building, never thought about this at all, that your air tank pressurizes, but the heat in that room that is now 3,700 degrees in that room, your air is coming through your lungs at that same thing. I don't like hot on my face, and I don't like hot in my lungs. But
that's legit.
Yeah, well, yeah. And who would think that? And the first time experiencing that, I'm just like, oh, this is not my favorite place to be right now. But if you're the lead man on the hose, you now are in control of everyone else that's on that hose, and whether you make it in or out of that building is based on you, whether you like the hot in your lungs or not. And so I've got a tank can last you maybe 40 minutes, but I got 40 minutes of this. We better figure it out. And so you sit in there, you work through it, you get your mind, and you got to kind of focus on something that's not the misery of it. We do kind of talk against the putting your misery on the social medias. We talk kind of against that a little bit, only in the fact that misery gathers misery. And, you don't need to feed your funk with other people's funk. And you can bigger and better a story all day long. All of us have been through the icks. And what did you learn from it? Well, here's the deal. I learned I can get through the icks. I learned that I've made it through every worst day of my life. I've made it through it by pulling my stuff together, realizing I can get through it.
I love it, man. And to pony on a couple of those things. So there was a different lifetime where I actually worked for a company called Wheatland Fire Equipment, and we distributed fire equipment to local municipalities around through Wyoming, and because it was based and started by the Cozads out of Wheatland, Wyoming, and we had a fire.
Oh, folks.
Yep, we had a fire academy up there in Cody, and we go up there. Well, the extrication side was always. That was side that I really got into, and I was trying to learn more and more. So I went and watched the demo here, And they had 3 teams that were all kind of going through this, not competing per se, but kind of competing. And they had 3 cars sitting there. And they said, these cars are all in the identical condition. Here's the situation, what we need, want to see we need extrication on the individual, get the rescue Randy out of there. First team goes up and they start, doing like a Noah's Ark on the thing, right? They're cutting through it, chomp, 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 and they're dropping the thing. Next team goes up. They got timed on theirs. Next team goes up to their car and they start grabbing A and B pillar post and they're bending this thing back and they're going in and they're trying to get it out. They get timed. Third team, lead guy up to the car was one of the older guys, one of the older fire guys. He literally walks up to the car and opens the door. The door wasn't jammed, and when they got done, the instructor said none of those cars had jammed doors. It's that whole point about where did you learn to slow down for a second and think this through. Yes, you got the equipment. Yes, you want to use it. You want to get in there and go, bust it up. And I remember as a young guy in my 20s watching this going, oh my gosh, seeing that unfold there. Where they went up, opened the door, they were able to basically cut the seat belt off, get the seat laid back, get the rescue Randy out of there nice and safe. Never had to cut a single pillar post on the car, and I'm like, wow, that was hit, that hit. And I try to remember that as I'm doing work out there, constantly is like stop for a second, think. It doesn't always have to be the big smoke show. The other thing that you were talking about, you're not sure where, about that running into a burning building. I served for several years on the Larimer County Dive Rescue Team, and one of the first things they taught, at the time Justin Fox was our president. I eventually was his vice president, but our training guy was Bruce Lobmeyer. Bruce still on the team to this date, some 20 some odd years later, which is amazing. But one of the things they taught us from day one when we were getting on here is we will train vigorously and a lot so that we don't have to ever be heroes. People have this idea of dive rescue that we're going up, we're grabbing our boogie board to go and jump in the river. No one's touching that water until we know we've got a crew on hand and we got downstream, we got shore safety, we got lines ready to go. No one's going in. You know what I mean? It's people think that, we see these stories where the police officers would go in and then we'd lose the police officer too. So it went from this horrible situation to a tragic situation, and it's like, okay, hold on. It's the training that you receive is so that you don't have to be that hero, man. You rely on the team and you guys get your systems right. You train hard so that it becomes second nature and you can get it done. But that's 100%. Awesome. Yeah. And that's it's relevant in the work that we try to do, every day. But yeah, that's still, like I said, I still chalk it up to you guys are human beings. Clearly, they're built for service. There's no doubt about it. And so a lot of kudos, a lot of admiration. I have a feeling I'm going to be picking your brains as much as I can, and at least this will be another resource we can pass people over to, to at least call you up and say, hey, I got this going. What do you guys think? What should I be doing in this situation? Thankfully, knock on wood.
That's what the network does.
If we're doing it right.
We have committed to another piece that the information we've gotten from people is they're not answering my emails. They're not answering my phone calls. They're not answering. Okay, here's the solution to this. And again, I always refer back to these people are in crisis right now. Yep. They need help right now. They don't want to get another email address. They don't want another website. They don't want another phone number. So I call personally with them on the line, and I call the organization in their area. And I'm like, hey, I got Bill on the line here. This is what he's dealing with. What can we do for support? And if you don't have a solution and an answer, we're going to the next thing. This weekend, we had a veteran here in St. Paul that has some struggles and he's dealing with some stuff right now. And I put out a message to a dozen people saying, hey, this is what he's dealing with. This is what we can do. This is what I've told them. what are the solutions? And I don't trust in my brain to come up with the answer. I'm trusting in the organization's ability to come up with the answer.
Love it.
And because someone's got, and again, that goes back to the specializing that we were talking about earlier. We need all these people because everyone's got a different perspective, a different nuance. Donald Trump is the solution, apparently, here in your answers. It's a message on our thing there.
Right.
I really don't think it's Donald Trump for the record.
Yeah, I'm guessing probably not. Somehow they got that YouTube channel. That's awesome.
So it's a constant reevaluation. I mean, again, just because I have a solution doesn't mean it's the right solution either. So we're constantly making sure we're banging stuff off each other and making sure, what's the focus? What's the mission's the focus? Don't get distracted. On my days when I'm struggling, even me personally, maybe with a board member or maybe with someone that's on our chat line, I reach out to the group. How do you guys want to deal with this? We've got some organizations we won't work with. Bottom line, we won't work with them because A, B, C, and D. It's based on data. It's not because they smell funny or this or that. It's because we have seen what has happened in these situations. You're not doing what we think you should be doing, and we are evaluating. We're going to do what's best for us and what's best for people. You can give your stuff away to the people in your network, and I'm whatever.
I love it. Good stuff. All right. Well, listen, folks at home, make sure before we move on to our second segment of the show here, I want to make sure you folks also see this here. Get to Facebook and you will find at Patriot Project 2018. For those of you listening to us and don't see the screen here, it's at Patriot Project 2018. Go give them a follow. Check out the episode piece there. Also, go to thepeoplespatriotproject.org. And there you will be able to link in and see the entire podcast, see all 258. Is that what you said?
Yep.
All right. So yeah, I got that Rain Man thing with numbers.
That was good.
Man. Yeah.
Jeez.
I was a hockey,
I can't remember it.
I was a hockey goaltender, man. Numbers and stats, yeah, that's all in my head. Unfortunately, I overthink things all the time. Well, what are the percentages of this if I were to do this? Yeah, that
Oh my goodness.
That doesn't help. But yeah, definitely give the People's Patriot Project. Go check out the episodes there. And you guys are on Sunday nights at 1800 hours, right? Central, 1800 Central.
Yes.
Perfect. So you guys are what, two hours before us on the network out there, which is awesome. Awesome. Good stuff. Well, listen, we're going to roll into our second segment. Each one of our shows here on the Double S, we do a small segment at the end here. And I encourage all my guests to either you can hang out, you can become, chime in. I respect your professions, and I'm not going to shake anything up. This isn't our shots fired section here where I'm going to get all kinds of opinions going. What we're going to do on this one is, this one's called Downrange, this section is. We're going to dig a little bit into something here. And yeah, it's going to push a little people's comfort zone when it comes to certain politics. But the beauty of this is, at the end of it, you'll see the purpose of it is for a positive deal, trying to help people navigate some stuff. So you guys, if you want to stay, please absolutely do stay. I encourage you to. Otherwise, I get it if you're like, yeah, see ya, Gene, we're not messing with this. But we're going to roll into, one second here. Here it is. Yeah. All right. So on this episode of Downrange, what I want to talk about, because I've been seeing this. First, let me preface this. The opinions that I express here today are that of only me. They have nothing to do with the True Patriot Outfitters or the People's Patriot Project or any of our guests or anybody else. Just my personal opinions. And what I'm talking about here is, I am every sense of the word what you would call a moderate, okay? I don't buy into whatsoever these narratives that liberal means bad and conservative means good, or conservative means racist and liberal means, this next generation of thinking. I don't buy that mess, okay? These are words, and they're two good words that we need in the world. And it's only through balance that I personally think that we find a lot of peace. Pretty much everything in nature has told us that in an extreme, it's short-lived. Okay, there's stars out there that burn like at such high temperatures that they can't even be recorded, and they don't last long. You know what I mean? Everything Mother Nature tells us, everything the world around us tells us is that anything, too much of anything is not good. So finding balance. Well, I want to talk about navigating the social media landscape, the news, the way it's bombing us, because if there's one thing that the most recent events has brought to attention, it's that both sides, everybody is playing the propaganda game. Everybody. Now, you'll take this pill that I'm handing out much easier if you can do this tip that I'm about to give you. Try for a second to remove the parties from your thought. And then try for a second to go further than that, remove the people that said it out of the thought. Take the statement at what it is and think about it that way. Because I'm going to be straightforward and honest. There is a whole lot of talk out there that anything, Donald Trump could say vanilla ice cream tastes good, and some people, vanilla ice cream was eaten by Hitler and it's horrible, and they'll bomb, right? They'll take off. Then the opposite is the side. You know, I've seen this happening now through a lot of my friends and a lot of the people we work with, that even if it's a good idea, you know, the libtard statements come out, and the this and the that's, and the Democrats, you know, these stupid, the liberals are, because you guys stop feeding the narrative, okay? That's what they want you to do, is to keep us completely, you know, spread apart out there. And so what I'm suggesting for folks is try for a second to take the parties out of your train of thought. Look at a concept or a situation and judge it for what it might be there. Because I know there's people out there that have got fear in their hearts right now, and I know that there are people that are worried, they got anxiety, they see the stuff, what's going on in Iran. Hey, I'll gladly tell you, I'm a little nervous on what I'm seeing here going on right now, but there's another side to this. And this is what I want to throw out there. Do you realize there's people out there that have no clue about what's going on in the world? And they wake up the same as they did yesterday, and they go through their life, their daily routine, and there's no difference right now. Right now. They absolutely, with all the stuff that you see, they go through their life and they don't think three thoughts about it. They have a great day, they have a bad day, whatever it is. And what that tells you is that you can too. Okay, if you put the things rightfully where they need to be about, is this something that I should be getting anxiety about? Should I be getting worried? Should I be thinking this? You got to know that if you're reading it on social media, it's being played on you, okay? Adam Bird flat out said, the birthplace, there was a parade in Philadelphia, and there was a protest, and there was no problems. Things were okay in the ground zero of it all. So, no, the whole country is not coming apart. Are there some tension-driven things taking place right now in Iran? Yeah, there sure is. But I'll tell you this. I'm 52 years old, and I can tell you since I was a teenager, this has been getting talked about, getting done. No one pulled the trigger on it. I think the intelligence community knows that it needed to be done for the longest time. So whether I like the politics or you know, I absolutely do not support putting boots on the ground. I don't want to see our boys in harm's way. But at the end of the day, it's because I'm not married to this president. I'm not married to these parties whatsoever. I'm looking at this from a tactical position to go, yeah, we know that's the place that's been feeding all the bad guys, dog. We've all known that for years. So you took away their ability to make the sky glow, you know, out there. Okay, if that's truly what you did. But at the end of the day, try that for a second. Judge these topics for what they are. Mark, you're smiling at me here, dog. What are your thoughts on that whole piece there?
I spent a lot of time in this space and the fact that we are not experts in anything.
Exactly.
Stay your lane.
Yes. There's so much we don't know.
This thing has been in play for 20 plus years. This particular issue has been in play for 20 plus years.
Yep.
It's I have a unique perspective only in the fact that I get to see the ridiculous spectrum of the right and left in my space because A, what I do for our world, and B, what I do for a job. And so I get to see this continuum that goes, I don't even know how to balance it, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Other than the fact, have real conversations. Yeah. And the real conversation might mean you don't know everything. I don't know. I might have an opinion, but we sat at a convention not too long ago, and we heard the exact same words come out of people's mouth. And I get tired of people being parrots and just repeating information. You're not repeating anything that's beneficial. You're just putting stuff out there. And then, you can have a serious conversation on any of the socials, and you got some clown out there that makes it a joke, which I get it. You're trolling. I totally get it. But people get upset by it. And I'm like, I get that too. And it's, if it affects you, and this could affect all of us in some nature, shape, or form.
Maybe.
This could affect all of us. It could.
Yeah.
But if you don't have a key aspect in it, be a first responder and take in your information. Walk in and take stuff. I don't know how long you want to go and how I have this lesson I teach my kids where I put this big dice in front of them. And I tell them, what do you see? And they'll say, Mr. Peterson, I see a 6. And I tell them, you might be the dumbest kid I ever met in my life. Now, I've built a relationship with these kids.
Right.
And they're like, what? And I'm like, it's clearly a 1. And immediately the bell goes off in their head. And they're like, Mr. Peterson, you're looking at it at your perspective. And they always use that exact same word. And I go, you are 1,000% right. And what's that perspective based on? Knowledge. And where did you get that knowledge? From your media.
Yep.
And when I say media, I'm not talking your 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock news. I'm talking about your moms, your dads, your brothers, your sisters, your clergy, your drill sergeant. Every single person and nuance in your life has given you information, and either you've bought into it or not bought into it. And you get to decide. If it makes you feel good inside, you're going to buy into that. And I don't get why some people buy into one and why some people buy into the other. I don't get that piece. I've got polar opposites in my household, right? And I don't get it. Well, that's another conversation someday.
Love it. And Andrew, what are your thoughts on that? On the whole, removing the personal, because for me, I'm not a registered, one of the T-shirts I want to get. I'm not a registered Republican. I'm not a registered Democrat, but I would still give my life to defend the 2A. I believe it's that important to this country. I truly do, and so that piece there. But it's because I don't hold patronage, right? So when you insult the Democrats or insult the Republicans, I don't take it personally. That's my point of this, is if you can distance yourself from this stuff, then you can start to think a little bit cleaner and not with emotion so much. How, especially when it comes to, kids trying to navigate this stuff out here.
Kids.
That's a tricky thing. I don't feel good for those kids, what they get bombarded with.
No, And of course, every eighth grader wants to know who you voted for in an election year.
Right?
I didn't vote, but you got the sticker. Yeah, I voted for the neighbor at on the school board. I don't know what. Yeah, you're right. And I say, okay, I don't like conflict, so I always go, oh, I ride the fence. I just stay right on the fence. I just watch. I say this, but I'm kind of a pot stirrer because sometimes I get a little. I've never posted on the Hastings community page on Facebook. This week I did. And it was the stupidest question in the world. I put it out there knowing. So I phrased it as, what would you do if you saw this happening? Clearly didn't ask what I should do because I know what I am going to do.
Right.
But I said, what would you do if you, and 183 answers later, people are fighting.
Oh, yeah.
I'm glad you spent your time putting on Facebook instead of dialing 911. That was faster. And I'm like, I didn't ask what I should do. I asked what would you do? And so the social experiment was funny to me. It's kind of the way I look at politics. I have these friends way over here that are just preaching it, and you got to love them all. And I'm like, but that's where I started from, way over there. We love everybody over there. And it just is such a constant battle. And I just think I have one person who is that agitator on whichever side. And people are always like, why do you even keep her as a friend on Facebook? I'm like, because it's funny. It's hilarious, the stuff she puts out there. And I have to sit on my hands.
Fold your hands.
Yeah, but just stick them in the candle wax. Like, where'd you get this from? Where'd you get this? Can I just ask? And then I think I even said it to Peterson yesterday or today. I'm like, I had no idea there were so many military strategists out there. They all know exactly what should have been done, how it should have been. Why didn't Congress know about this? I'm like, it's none of your business. You're a teacher. Teach your kids. Anyway.
Well, and one of the things that those of us that run down the moderate side of life, that I actually don't mind conflict. What I don't like is pointless conflict. We've got to be willing to be uncomfortable in situations. The older I get, I'm completely cool with being wrong about stuff, because I have literally, it's a small, but this happens in bigger sections of my life. But I'll hit on a big topic here that was big for many, many years that I feel like it's getting trampled right now, and that is on same-sex marriage. I didn't know where I stood on the topic for the longest time, and then as I started looking through things a little bit closer, I said, you know what? This is a government-issued contract from the state that gives people a right to share property and have access to each other's medical records. This is a civil rights issue in my brain. Mm-hmm. That's where my head went. Now, I respect 100% the fact, however, that a church reserves the right to not recognize it and not perform that, because that's their religious right and freedom to do so. But in the same breath, I think it's as far as the state, no, I don't think the state should or can deny something like that. I think you're free, as long as it's two consenting adults, you're free to love who you want to love. I really don't care. You're not hurting anybody in my head, is the way I look at it. That's your life. And so it took me a while to come to that, get to that situation, and I didn't know where I stood. But most recently, we wanted to make a change at this, there was a proposition to make a change at this business group that I'm in, and I was all for this change. I said, yeah, I don't see any reason why that can't be. 2 members literally right there said, well, this is why I would not support that. And it literally changed my opinion on it. I'm like, I never even thought of that side of it. Holy crap. And you're right, because I think I would fall right where you're landing on this if I would have thought about that. You got to get comfortable, like you said, Marco, going, I don't know all of it. What I know so far, this is where I think I'm at. And a lot of this, like I said, it's what comes down. And I wanted to touch on just a couple hypocrisy issues here. Let's talk one of the first ones. Welfare reform was such a huge topic through the 80s. It was broken. It needed fixed. It needed to get done. I'm about to curl the toes on my conservative brothers out there when I tell them the guy that got it done was Bill Clinton. His administration got welfare reform. He worked with a primarily Republican Congress, and they got the thing done. You know who killed it? Was George Jr. He repealed it. They had the reform package in place that required people to go, job training. It was not so that they could stay on it forever. They got the help when they needed it, but then they got skills given, help them to get skills, get training, get back into the workforce. They had it done. Now it's, if you were to do that, it feels like, well, you're just being racist, that you don't want to, take care of them. And it's like, whoa, hold on. We want to actually help them, go up there. And that was for the longest time. I remember these things because I am a little bit older guy. The Iran strike, like you said, I believe it's been going on for 30 years. I think it's been going on that people, because Clinton talked about doing it. Obama talked about doing it. We've got recording where they said this is going to need to be done. Bush talked about doing it. I was just surprised we didn't go to Iran when we were already there with everything. And then, of course, Biden, even when you could still understand him, he was talking about it, and getting it done. There was another situation that came up here that people didn't want to admit, because for those folks that absolutely adore and love our president, I respect them just the same. When he compared the Medal of Honor to the Medal of Freedom, yes, folks, he did that. He said, in most cases, the Medal of Freedom, which is an award given to a citizen, he said it was a better one because they're in better shape when they get it. It was him being him, but he said this out loud, and he had to come back later and explain himself to correct it, because even the VFW top commander called him out going, that was a ridiculous ass statement that he just tried to compare those two medals together, type thing. And even so it doesn't matter who you are. Our favorite people, they're celebrities at the end of the day, okay? It's a popularity contest. They're going to say dumb stuff, and it's okay. You know what I mean? That's kind of what I'm getting at, is that no one's absolved from being completely right or completely bad. No, the Democrats are not evil, and and Republicans are not just good. And no, the Republicans are not racist, and the Democrats are a higher, thoughtful human being that's on the planet. These things are not true. This is what they want us to do, is to keep separating. I just encourage people to please stop, right? Please stop that. Don't feed into it. Don't be part of the connection piece. We can like ideas and not like ideas and still respect and love each other. I know that sounds kumbaya, but it's the God's honest truth, right? I mean,
You're not wrong.
It can be done, and we can continue.
One of my biggest frustrations, like they would laugh and mock Biden for falling and tripping. And I'm like, I even looked at my own kids. I said, would that be really funny if your 80-year-old grandmother fell? Is that funny? Is that funny to you?
Right.
It's stuff. It's situational life stuff. I mean, it's the amount of, I'm blown away by these press secretaries that know the amount of information that they know, because I could not keep all these pieces in my head lined up. And like you said, no one's allowed to make a mistake anymore. It's like, right. Oh my gosh, you made that mistake. We're going to hold you to the fire. I'm like, come on. The amount of information that these people need to know on a daily, I know I couldn't do it, and I'd be the first one to say it. And maybe that's why I'm not a leader of the world. So,
well, and that's a great segue. That I'm just so damn glad, guys, that we didn't have the internet when we were teenagers growing up. Oh my God.
It was bad enough when you had to pick your pictures up at the drugstore, and maybe your mom accidentally got your set of pictures. Like,
right?
That's not good.
Well, not all of us had to worry about that, Andrea.
Okay, I just away.
I had
one time
phase in college.
I had a stack of Sports Illustrated as high as the mountain, and I kept everyone, and they were in chronological order. And my buddy came over with a Playboy, and he put it right on top. My mom happened to come in my room, and she's like, she pulls me to the side, and she's bawling. And she's like, why would you spend all your money on that? Now, let's be honest. Okay, is the message Sports Illustrated at this point? Because Why would you spend all your money on that too? For the record, but
The great
But-
articles.
she was confident.
Stories.
She was confident. This mountain of magazines were all Playboy magazines, and I'm like, Mom, it's one. Yeah, you probably don't want me to have it, but it's here. It's my buddies. It is what it is.
And brought it over.
But the only
Everything
reason why I'm bringing that up is these things.
Oh my gosh.
Can you imagine? There is free access to anything and everything and all the.
Yeah.
When my son was in middle school, he ends up being a rasper for the Rangers, and he's a 13 Fox and this and that. But when he was a middle school kid, he had some game that was cutting people's heads off and stuff. And I'm like, and there's like bloods, and I'm like, what is this?
Yep.
I could not even imagine. I mean, we had Pac-Man back in the day. I mean, that's what we had.
Dude, I had Atari, right? I mean, my brother and I would invent cuss words for tank. I'll tell you that right now. Tank wars. Well, listen, guys, thank you so very much for hanging out with us here and for chopping it up. Folks, make sure you go check out the People's Patriot Project. Check them out. 1800 Central Standard Sundays, and then you got something that also goes on Mondays too. Is that the same thing?
Yeah, we got our WP3 weekly debrief. We do that at 4:30. That's about the People's Patriot Project on Mondays. Sundays is just about the organization and the musician we bring on. And I would like to also mention we have WP3 Radio that plays only veteran and first responder musicians. That's all it plays.
No kidding.
It's as simple as typing in WEP3 radio. We don't talk on there. It is just music. It is just the 213 musicians we have in our network.
So it's WEP3.radio.
So if you go to Google and type in WEP3 radio, it'll be the first thing.
Okay, so you just...
Andrea put it in the message too. So the live 365 is there.
Gotcha. WEP3 radio. That's awesome. Yeah, we the Stop 22 is a big portion on the front of my truck. It's got the hashtag Stop 22 Tour until there are none. That's something with Steven being one of the founders there, of course, and guys we talked about. Man, it's powerful music. I've watched it firsthand. Chris Turner was playing. At a little bar that we were in Illinois, and just watching the crowd, you could see some of these words just resonating with some of these guys, and they had kind of this stare, right? They were looking off, but their head was moving, and they were coming along with the song because it was just clicking, and then you would see them come to, and they're clapping and they're there. So it's taking place as it's going. Jonathan Wells is another one. He's one of my favorites. I love Jonathan's voice and some of his songs. Bullets. I don't know if you've ever heard that. That is an amazing tune. And yeah, so those type of that music therapy is huge. I love it. All right. Well, again, thank you guys so very much. It was cool to meet you. It was cool to chime in here. Let us know if there's anything that the SS can do or the TPO can do. I'm looking forward when I might be on my way up your neck of the woods, Mark, come July. We'll see.
Andrea's up here too.
Andrea, you're up there as well.
I'm in Hastings, so I have to. Yeah, I'm a little farther away, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we're St. Cloud is that area. There's a big kayak tournament going on up there for the Kayak Adventure
cool.
Series. And I'm like, I'll be an hour away basically from my daughter. So I need to stop and see her. And I'll add another couple days onto the trip just to be able to, catch up with you guys. That would be super cool. It'll be in July, kind of middle of July. But yeah,
Perfect.
I'll round you up there if that's the case.
100%.
All right, folks at home, thank you so much for everybody that's tuned in to us live here on all the channels that we're coming across out there. We appreciate you on the at SS podcast at YouTube. Make sure to smash that subscribe. Big help for us. That's the platform we're trying to build this thing grassroots and from the ground up. So that will be a huge deal to help us out there. And obviously, go check out Romans Warrior Foundation, check out Heroes Media, People's Patriot Project, all the great podcasts that we have out there. Hopefully, we'll be trying to get a few more as well. Next Sunday, we'll be on here. We'll be live again. Don't know who our guest is just yet. We've got a couple that are in the hopper. We're trying to line up our schedule so that we can, get back to like you guys, where we're a little bit booked out. But right now we got openings. We just got to figure that part out. And as soon as I get to slow down for a second, that would be nice. But yeah, make sure to check in with us here. You guys, thank you so very much. We appreciate you hanging out with us here on the Double S.
Thank you. Thank you
Take your
much.
pride.